your kind of company.
Tonight on CTV3 News, young Belizean boat captain gunned down in broad daylight in Belize City. William Danny Mason is found guilty of kidnapping Mennonite couple. Co-accused Ryan Rayburn is acquitted. Parliament holds historic joint session amid re-election victory and union demonstration. And wave of green hits Bamopan as unions protest over salaries and cost of living. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Friday, May 9th, 2025.
It's the biggest Pro SC card of the year, as 3 titles are at stake. As lightweight champion Marvin Mundo defends his belt against the #1 contender Raheem Lambe, and flyweight champion Jeffrey Martinez faces a hard-hitting Mexican Miguel Garcia Calderon. Plus KO specialist Diego Lopez from Honduras goes toe-to-toe with Kalen Smith from Belize City for the bantamweight belt. There will also be 11 other exciting MMA fights, including a special international female fight as May Blanco from Mexico faces the Nicaraguan Rady Oscarina Lopez in what is sure to be the fight of the night. General admission tickets are only $30 and VIP tickets are $100. On Saturday, May 17th, Prophecy Fighting Championship presents Pro FC 60 Martinez versus Garcia, live from the Princess Vegas Hotel and Casino in Santa Elena, Corazon, exclusively on the Express Plus app.
Pro FC 16 is brought to you by Sherwin-Williams, DigiWallet, Carousel Commercial Free Zone, Bellikin Stout.
Electricity is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning. Independent power producers across Belize generate electricity using a mix of renewable and non-renewable resources. Electricity travels across a network of high-voltage transmission lines capable of transmitting electricity across long distances. Electricity then reaches your nearest substation, where it is adjusted to a lower voltage, making it safe to travel on the distribution lines you see in your community. From there, electricity makes its final journey from the distribution lines to your home, providing you with safe and reliable power when you need it. Belize Electricity Limited. We continue to serve you.
Have you seen Lori?
Check in at the White Lotus, where paradise turns into a playground for the privileged, and every sun-soaked moment is dripping with intrigue. Stream The
Have a
White
wonderful
Lotus
last day.
on HBO Max, available with Centaur.
Good evening with your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. This morning, Belize's Parliament convened for a historic joint ceremonial sitting of the House of Representatives and the Senate in the capital city. The event marked the first official session since the People's United Party's re-election victory on March 12th. The proceedings took place outdoors outside the Sir Edney Kane building, attracting members from both legislative chambers, while a significant crowd of public officers and teachers staged a large demonstration just a few blocks away. Carmelita Perez reports.
This morning's session saw the commencement of the 14th House of Representatives and the 15th Senate. Valerie Woods was reaffirmed as Speaker of the House of Representatives for a second term, with her leadership confirmed smoothly. Additionally, Marconi Leal Jr., representing Belize Rural North, was unanimously elected Deputy Speaker by acclamation. With renewed commitment and unity, members took the oath to uphold the people's mandate and shape the legislative path ahead.
I, Valerie Woods, do solemnly and sincerely affirm and declare that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize and will uphold the Constitution and the law, and that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as a member of the House of Representatives and do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection, or ill will.
I, Marconi Leal Jr., do swear that I will bear true fruit of allegiance to Belize and will uphold the Constitution and the law, and that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as a member of the House of Representatives and Deputy Speaker of the House and do right to all manner of people without fear of favor, affection, and ill will. So help me God.
I, John Briceño, do swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Belize. I will uphold the Constitution and the law, that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as a member of the House of Representatives and do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
In his address, Prime Minister John Briceño confirmed that the National Health Insurance NHI program will be fully rolled out across Belize by the end of this year, ensuring access to affordable health care for all Belizeans. And in a move aimed at easing the financial burden on Belizean families, the government of Belize announced that GST-free weekends for Christmas and back-to-school shopping will become a permanent fixture starting in August 2025. The Prime Minister also emphasized on the government's focus on enhancing national security. He announced comprehensive legislative reforms aimed at reducing gun violence and dismantling gang activity.
Most importantly, Cabinet has given directives to the Attorney General's Ministry to draft legislative amendments to increase the penalty for illegal firearm possession to 10 years and for the establishment of a specialized gang and gun control and gun court to treat all such offenses as indictable, assigning to it the requisite attention and priority that such offenses deserve. Adjustments will also be made to our state of emergency provisions under the Constitution to ensure that our law-abiding citizens and visitors feel free and are not negatively impacted by curfew and restricted mobility. The good must not suffer for the bad, and we must call it what it is, not a state of emergency, but a gang intervention period.
Apart from tackling national security, the government is also moving full speed ahead to revitalize the recently acquired port of Belize, which was salvaged from receivership.
Belizeans are now the proud owners of this public utility that is in desperate need of urgent repair, renewal, and expansion. We are moving forward with a massive development project that is intended to transform the cargo, bulk, and cruise facilities in an environmentally responsible way. The port is Belize's marine access to the world. We must hasten to ensure that the on-land facilities and the channel and harbor provide the most cost-effective and time-efficient link.
And following the Wayne Piper-led Commission of Inquiry into the sugar industry, a sugar industry authority will be created to lead the reform of Belize's oldest and most prosperous industry, as announced by Prime Minister John Briceño, who is directly in charge of that portfolio.
As a necessary part of the reform of this industry, government will propose the establishment of a sugar industry authority to lead the modernization of the sugar industry to ensure it has a viable and profitable future both for the farmers and the millers. This is a critical mission that cannot fail. My government looks forward to receiving the final report of the
Governor General Dame Froila Salam and Speaker Valerie Woods also delivered remarks during the session, emphasizing the importance of unity and commitment to national progress. Carmelita Perez, CTV3 News.
During his address, the Prime Minister also touched on the People's Constitutional Commission and electoral reform. We will have that for later on in the newscast. Simultaneously, as parliamentarians gathered for the ceremonial opening of the National Assembly, close to 3,000 teachers from across the country gathered in a sea of green as the Belize National Teachers Union officially launched its three-phase industrial action plan. The BNTU were also joined by members of the PSU, including its president, Dean Flowers, along with members of other associations, including the Association of Public Service Senior Managers, APSSM. Today's protest action, according to the union's leadership, signals mounting frustration over delayed salary adjustments, unfulfilled agreements, and the rising cost of living. The unions are demanding an 8.5% salary increase for teachers, a raise in the minimum wage from $5 to $6, an increase in the transfer grant from $1,200 to $1,500, and swift action on a collective bargaining agreement submitted last November. BNTU National President Nadia Martin Callis says the union's movement is different from those in the past and falls in line with February's action plan to achieve systemic changes within the education sector as teachers demand their slice of the proverbial pie.
Excellent, beyond my expectation. The crowd is even larger than the 7th of February launch of the platform, Value Teachers We Matter. Today, teachers are making it clear that they're not happy, that they need to be noticed, that it's about time that they get their percentage of this pie. Because, you know, some people got a piece of the pie, and it was said that every time you give somebody a bigger share, somebody gets a small share. We haven't gotten any of that pie, so we know we want our slice. So this is teachers telling the government of Belize, give away with slice. Helm of every profession, the backbone too of every profession. An educator plays a key role in that. And when you treat these persons, the vehicles of profession, that's what I call them, all right? When you treat them in this manner, the manner in which they're currently being treated, because my predecessors have been asking for the reinstatement of frozen increments, they've been asking for the adjustments of salaries, and they're being told to wait until the economy is performing. But when you see so many other groups who are paid from that same purse being given that increase, then what about us? And right around the election, you see that 20%. I don't care if it's 20,000. It's from the same pie. We want a slice of a pie. That time we get a slice.
And while the marching crowd was unable to walk directly in front of the Sir Eddie Kane building where the sitting of the National Assembly was held, Callis says the message was sent very clearly.
The BNTU, I need people to understand what the BNTU stands for. Whether we go before them or not, we speak volumes when we hit the street. So we don't have to be there jumping up on all of that in front of them for them to know how powerful we are. They will get the clippings, they'll get the videos. The police officers are here in their green, they're here in their khaki. They're all here. Everybody's here. So they will get the message. So we don't have to be jumping up in front of them. The numbers on the street speak volumes. The society is paying attention. The world at large is paying attention.
But what message can you send when you are being barred from getting near the people that needs to see you and hear from you, and they're there right now?
The message I'm sending is that you can't stuff us in any corner. We're now taking over the streets. We're sticking to the terms of the bond. We're taking over the streets. And while we're taking over the streets, their people, their operatives are here recording, giving them information. So don't think that we have to be in there. People think, everybody think we have to be in there. But if my members feel passionately about being in there, that's public space. That is paid for from taxpayers' money, which we do. All right, but for right now, we're sticking to the first part of the bond. We're demonstrating through the streets.
BNTU National President Nadia Callis today also acknowledged a letter from Prime Minister John Briceño to the union where he opened the door for a meeting on May 15th.
That was sent to us first. We know the team already too because he sent that to us. But we did not respond because our members wanted a date when we would sit at the table. And with no date in there, then we can't acknowledge that. We needed a date. They sent us a date afterwards. And now we acknowledge the fact that we received that letter.
Barring a positive outcome to the upcoming meeting between the BNTU and the working group appointed by the Prime Minister scheduled for next week, the BNTU's three-phase plan continues with Phase 2, which would involve a two-day national shutdown. The final and most impactful phase, Phase 3, would escalate to a full-scale strike across the nation's schools. Hopefully, the union's movement won't reach Phase 3. But at the same time, there is no doubt that the negotiations will go deep. Teachers in particular have voiced 5 key demands led by a request for an 8.5% salary increase and the revision of the minimum wage. However, Prime Minister John Briceño expressed concerns over the affordability of these demands, estimating that fulfilling them would require an additional $63 million annually from the government's budget, alongside addressing other issues raised by the unions.
I think, certainly it's their right to make those demands and to ask of the government. No, it is not our responsibility to meet to them and to see what we could afford. If we could afford that, we'd give it to them. If we can give them more, we'd gladly do so. But we have to look within the ambit of what we have. The pie is one size, it's not bigger, and it's growing up, it's growing slowly, but the demands are growing even larger. When you make, and the Ministry of Finance, they made a quick estimate of what they're asking, that will add another approximately $63 million to the wage bill. As it is right now, I think the wage bill is over $700 million. And it gives you time to think, or pause to think, that if we were to do that recklessly, then we may have to cut other social programs or other things that we want to do. So it's a balancing act from our end. They have their demands or their requests, and we sit down and we talk to them and try to find a common ground that can meet some of their objectives, but at the same time for us to be able to be a responsible government.
But you will make the argument that you increase the CEO's salary and the cabinet secretary's salary, but can't increase their ones. They'll say, well, cut back on the CEO's salary.
Well, the thing is that when you look at that, we're looking at $300,000 versus $64 million. Do the math.
What considerations, PM, would you be willing to consider?
With the Prime Minister appointing a high-level committee comprised of Deputy Prime Minister Cordell Hyde, Francis Fonseca, Oscar Requena, Minister Henry Charles Usher, and Chris Coe to negotiate with the unions, including Public Service Union, Belize National Teachers Union, and the Association of Public Service Senior Managers to address the matters raised by the unions. Negotiations are expected to commence. However, at the end of the day, it will not be solely up to him to decide which demands will be met, says the Prime Minister.
To give them at this time?
Well, I don't think it's for me to decide. It's for the group of ministers to meet to them, the DPM, along with Minister Fonseca, Minister Coe, Minister Henry Charles Usher, for them to sit down and to see what best they think they can find a common ground, and then they come to me, and then we take it to the cabinet.
Sir, but will you meet their demands? In time for the meeting, they have demanded that you answer all the communications that they said you haven't answered before they meet. Are you prepared to do that?
We have answered. We have said that we have appointed the committee from the highest, from within the cabinet. That's as the highest as you can get. And so they're to meet and then they start the discussion.
But sir, do you
Can
blame,
we move on to something
but
else,
do you
please?
blame Stuart, let's say the cabinet secretary?
The unions have requested that the Prime Minister provide a detailed meeting agenda and written responses to previous proposals by May 12th to ensure that the negotiations are productive. Today's demonstration in Bamapan by the Belize National Teachers Union was a major event policed by new Commissioner of Police Dr. Richard Rosado. As is often the case with union-organized events, today's demonstration through the streets of the capital city proceeded smoothly and without incident. Having prepared for the event for weeks in advance, Campul Rosado says the police were ready for any situation.
First of all, I want to say that the teachers, the unions, they have a right to protest, but they must do so within the context of the law. And for all that I have known, the unions have always done a peaceful demonstration. So they are within their rights.
Right now, they're very close to the event, though. Have they been sanctioned to be here?
The event has concluded, so they are not in breach of any of the condition of the bonds.
And then the security threat is at a minimum at this point?
Yes, the security threat here is at minimum.
Talk a bit about what it took to organize this event. We saw police officers scattered across the ring road today. That's a lot of resources.
Well, honestly, we were anticipating a larger crowd. But it did not turn out to the size that we were anticipating. But our policing efforts are based on our threat assessment. And based on the threat assessment, then we will post our police officers to police the event to ensure that they can protest, and they can protest doing so peacefully.
Having deployed a large team of officers from various units, Campul Rosado says his instructions was for officers to treat protesters with respect and allow them space to carry out their civic right.
No, for the most part, the teachers have been very peaceful. They are operating or they are demonstrating within the context of the law. So I applaud them for that.
What was your advice to officers this morning, or your directives?
Well, whenever we have a demonstration, our first approach, and I have emphasized with them, that they must approach the protesters, the unions, the teachers, or whoever is protesting in a diplomatic manner.
A young boat captain from San Pedro Town was tragically shot and killed in broad daylight on Friday afternoon, marking another violent incident in the capital city. The victim has been identified as 26-year-old Zenedine Pinelo. The shooting occurred around 12:35 p.m. on Hunter's Lane, a busy area in Belize City. Officers from the Northside Criminal Investigations Branch responded swiftly to reports of gunfire. Upon arriving at the scene, they discovered the lifeless body of a Hispanic male lying on the ground. The victim was dressed in an orange long-sleeve shirt and gray three-quarter pants and bore multiple gunshot wounds. Preliminary investigation suggests that Pinelo and a male companion had gone to Hunter's Lane to meet a friend when they were approached by several men. During the encounter, one of the men drew a firearm and opened fire, striking Pinelo multiple times. The other individual managed to escape unharmed. Forensic technicians from the Scenes of Crime unit processed the scene, recovering expended shell casings. The injured Pinelo was transported to the Carl Houston Memorial Hospital, KHMH, where he was pronounced dead on arrival at 2:50 p.m. A post-mortem examination is scheduled to determine the exact cause of death. Authorities have not yet made any arrests and are actively investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting. The incident has shocked the community and raises concerns over ongoing violence in Belize City. Police urge anyone with information to come forward and aid in the investigation as they seek justice for Zenedine Pinelo and to prevent further tragedies. Coming up next, Prime Minister John Briceño honors heroes of April 17 hijacking attempt during joint House ceremony. Stay tuned.
It's the biggest pro SC card of the year, as 3 titles are at stake. As lightweight champion Marvin Mundo defends his belt against the #1 contender Raheem Lambe, and flyweight champion Jeffrey Martinez faces a hard-hitting Mexican Miguel Garcia Calderon. Plus KO specialist Diego Lopez from Honduras goes toe-to-toe with Kalen Smith from Belize City for the bantamweight belt. There will also be 11 other exciting MMA fights, including a special international female fight as May Blanco from Mexico faces the Nicaraguan Lady Oscarina Lopez in what is sure to be the fight of the night. General admission tickets are only $30 and VIP tickets are $100. On Saturday, May 17th, Prophecy Fighting Championship present Pro FC 60 Martinez versus Garcia live from the Princess Vegas Hotel and Casino in Santa Elena, Corazon, exclusively on the Express Plus app.
Pro FC 16 is brought to you by Sherwin-Williams, DigiWallet, Carousel Commercial Free Zone, Bellikin Stout.
Attention farmers. The New World screwworm is a serious threat to livestock, pets, wildlife, and humans. It causes yield losses, damages the quality of meat and skins, and can even kill them if left untreated. Check your animals daily. If you see any wounds on them, treat them immediately. Prevention is key. Apply approved healing and fly repellents to the navel of newborn animals after dehorning, ear tagging, or any other practice that leaves wounds on your animals to ensure your animals' well-being. If you notice worms in unusual wounds, report them immediately. Call Baja at 824-4872 or text or WhatsApp 670-7003 or call your nearest Ministry of Agriculture office. And don't forget, never transport or receive animals with injuries. Together, we will prevent the spread of this dangerous disease. This message was brought to you by Baja, OIRSA, AICA, USDA, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security, and Enterprise.
Every day, we access energy for cooling, lighting, and powering our electrical appliances and devices at work and at home. During cooler months, we rely less on cooling appliances such as fans and air conditioners. However, during warmer months, as the temperature and humidity rises, we use more energy to cool our spaces, and our appliances and electrical devices work harder than they do during the rest of the year. When the months become hotter, let's all practice energy conservation. Here are a few changes that you can make to manage your energy use. Check that all appliances and electrical devices are working efficiently. Turn lights off when not in the room. Unplug chargers, appliances when not in use. Turn off fans and TVs. Use energy-saving light bulbs such as LEDs. And look for the Energy Star products when purchasing appliances and electrical devices. These easy changes can reduce energy use and costs. You can also monitor your energy use during the month by reading your meter and calculating the reading using BEL's bill calculator on our mobile app or by visiting our website. Let's all save energy.
Have you seen Lori?
Check in at the White Lotus, where paradise turns into a playground for the privileged, and every sun-soaked moment is dripping with intrigue. Stream The
Have a
White
wonderful
Lotus
last day.
on HBO Max, available with Centaur.
In a significant development in the high-profile kidnapping case, William Danny Mason was convicted this afternoon of kidnapping Mennonite couple Lloyd and Brossie Friesen, while his co-accused Ryan Rayburn was acquitted of all charges. The verdict was reached after nearly 3 hours of court summation and just under 2 hours of jury deliberation. The 9-member jury, composed of 5 men and 4 women, delivered a majority verdict of 8-1 in convicting Mason on the kidnapping charge. However, the jury unanimously acquitted Mason of blackmail allegations. Rayburn, who had been held on remand throughout the trial, was found not guilty on all counts and was immediately released from custody. Justice Nigel Pilgrim presided over the trial. The court scheduled sentencing for Mason on June 28, 2025. Following the verdict, Rayburn's attorney, senior counsel Simeon Sampson, expressed satisfaction with the outcome.
The summation of the judge was excellent, and the jury abided. And according to the law and the evidence was so poor, the jury had to acquit my client. I have no more to say.
Thank you.
Mason's legal representative, Peter Taylor, conveyed his disappointment with the decision, describing it as confusing.
Well, it was rather confusing because the blackmail was supposed to be part and parcel of the alleged kidnapping. Now, our case was that the kidnapping was in fact a fabrication and also, therefore, the blackmail. We were rather confused, therefore, that the jury would have found Mr. Mason not guilty of blackmail, but guilty of kidnapping, when, as I said, the blackmail was supposed to be part and parcel of this whole enterprise. We are going to have to review the directions that the judge would have given to the jury to see if there were elements that are perhaps appealable. That is, of course, going to take some time, but we are in fact disappointed, very, very disappointed, because of the manifest inconsistencies that we found throughout the evidence of the Crown's witnesses. There was inconsistencies between Lloyd Friesen and his wife, the alleged victims. There was also manifest inconsistencies in the evidence of the so-called supporting witnesses. Of course, one of the witnesses was allegedly part of the kidnapping, and even his testimony contradicted that of the so-called victims in very material particulars. We, of course, made a no.
According to the DPP, the fact-finding duty was entirely within the province of the jury. In a statement today, the DPP, Sherilyn Vidal, indicted that this particular jury was one of the most, if not the most attentive that she has come across. They took their responsibility very seriously. Ultimately, they convicted Mason of the 2 counts of kidnapping, and we are of the view that justice was thereby served, she said. It is the opinion of the DPP that if the jury were unsure of the separate offense against Mason for blackmail, it was their duty to acquit him of it. It was their duty, likewise, if they were unsure of the participation of Ryan Rayburn, to acquit him, and this is what they did. Evidence in support of the offenses for which Rayburn was indicted was led by the Crown. And no case submission made by the counsel for Rayburn had in fact been dismissed, both at the first trial and at this trial. Although legally sufficient, that evidence did not satisfy the jury of his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. A United States citizen armed with a knife, later identified as 49-year-old Akiniela Sawa Taylor, attempted to hijack a small plane in Belize on Holy Thursday, but was shot dead by a passenger. The Cessna Grand Caravan aircraft of Tropic Air had taken off in the morning from the Ranchito airstrip in Corozal with 16 people on board bound for the island of San Pedro, when the hijacker threatened the pilot and ordered him to fly out of the country. The plane circled for nearly 2 hours over the Philip Golson International Airport in Belize City, finally landing when it was about to run out of fuel. At that point, the hijacker, who had already injured a passenger, stabbed 2 other persons on board, including the pilot. That is when one of the injured individuals fired at him with a licensed weapon. While the government of Belize has launched an investigation into the case and strengthened security measures at all its airports, there are those who believe that the response came late. But that is not so, says the Prime Minister, who was out of the country when the incident played out.
Kind of person. Let me give you the sequence of events. When that happened that Thursday, as I mentioned earlier, I was in the US at the hospital with my wife. If I was not in a hospital, I would have been on a plane on Friday to come here. When the farmers were agitating, was it I think the last year, I was going to go and meet the Pope. My bags were in the plane already, and I said, you know what, I'm coming to Belize because this is an issue that we need to address. So it's because of that I was not here. But I immediately asked that we have a National Security Council meeting. So there was an emergency council meeting that very same afternoon, and things started to work immediately. Not because I not talked to you, nothing happened. You know. The government we are not a government of press conferences. We are a government of getting the work done. The following Monday, the following week, we had a full briefing on the National Security Council, where we got the videos, we had the talking and everything, and then we had already started to put some plan in action. After that, we met cabinet. We briefed the cabinet. When we finished the brief the cabinet, the following day, then we met with all the players in the industry, all the different operators in the industry, and we spoke about what we're doing and some of the other things that they have done. We presented to them some of the steps that we want to take and asked them to respond to us. I think they should have responded last week, and so that we can have something that can really address the issues of aviation safety. But what is important to point out is that
And today, during the joint ceremonial sitting of the House of Representatives, Prime Minister John Briceño paid tribute to heroism displayed by Tropic Air pilot Howell Grange and passenger Jair Castaneda, who thwarted an attempted hijacking on April 17th. Both recipients were present and received hearty applause, while another passenger, Fitzgerald Brown, remains hospitalized following the incident.
"22 days ago, a hijacked Tropic airplane landed safely at the Philip Golson International Airport, thanks to the heroism of 3 men. Pilot Captain Howell Grange, Jair Castaneda, and Fitzgerald Brown. All 3 men were badly injured in an almost 2-hour-long ordeal. But because they would not give up and because they kept their wits, all passengers survived to tell the tale. Because of the bravery of these men, the hijacker was neutralized before he could harm any other passengers aboard the flight that day. Imagine, if you will, that were it not for these men and the quick thinking and calm of Captain Grange, that plane could have been forced down in a populated area, causing mass casualties. This is real adversity, and it took real courage to avert it. Today, we have with us Captain Grange and Mr. Castaneda. Regrettably, Mr. Brown is unable to be with us as a result of injuries he sustained, and we ask for continued prayers for his full recovery.
The People's Constitution Commission, PCC, is preparing to submit a list of recommended constitutional changes to the government. The Commission has gathered and compiled the varying opinions from 26 private and public sector organizations. The group, established in 2022, is expected to present the recommendations and findings from the consultation process for consideration in the near future, according to Prime Minister John Briceño.
But after 44 years as a nation state, we accept that the Constitution can be improved to serve us better and to be more faithful to the principles enshrined in this lofty preamble. The Ministry of Constitutional Affairs is charged with advancing this important work. In this term, we will have constitutional reform, we will complete decolonization, we will make paramount our Belizean sovereignty.
The Prime Minister also announced today that the International Court of Justice, ICJ, will listen to Belize's cases against Guatemala and Honduras over territory and deliver a judgment that will maintain Belize's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
I'm further advised that it is likely that before the end of this term, we will receive the ICJ judgments. We have spared no resource. We have prepared our cases expertly. We are confident that we will prevail at the ICJ. We are confident that we will retain all our land, sea, and islands. We fully expect the unfounded claims against our territory will be defeated. We will then, without condition, be able to live as good neighbors, secure in our borders, and with unblemished sovereignty.
On the world stage, in response to the globalization of indifference, in response to global crisis from war to climate change to emergencies, Belize must be different, the PM urged, developing sustainability and using our voice for good. As you may already know, word is that $250 million grant from the Millennium Challenge Corporation, MCC, is being canceled by the U.S. government. The MCC grant, signed in September 2024, was intended to enhance Belize's education and energy sectors. However, recent policy shifts under the Trump administration have led to the dismantling of the MCC and cancellation of its grants. The government recently raised the issue with the U.S. Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, when he called the Prime Minister to reaffirm the importance of the U.S.-Belizean partnership and congratulate him on his March 12th election. Today, when the media asked the Prime Minister for an update on the issue, he indicated that the matter remains under discussion.
Well, we have not received an official response as yet. And in my discussion with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he left the door slightly open in the sense that he said that he's going to meet with the board. The MCC, of course, he said it's not directly under his purview, although he's the chairman of the board. But so he said that they will be meeting and then make a discussion, have a discussion on whether they should finish the projects that have already started. Now, remember, we're just starting, so I don't know if we will be within that ambit. No, we hope that we will, but we just have to wait and see.
And if they're not continued, then how will the government finish the projects that
okay, but the point is that the MCC was not a part of the budget. They came here and then we met with them and we did within record time managed to get a compact signed for 125,000 million US, of which 20% have been for energy and the rest for teaching. We already knew what are the challenges we face in the educational system, so they would have been helping us and that have made it easier. But now that they're not, then we have to look and see how we're going to find the money and start to make the adjustments within the educational system.
So who is our security and what's Ian Carl's relationship?
And here is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Have you seen Lori?
Check in at the White Lotus, where paradise turns into a playground for the privileged, and every sun-soaked moment is dripping with intrigue. Stream The White Lotus on HBO Max, available with Centaur.
In response to a surge in gang-related violence, a state of public emergency was officially declared in parts of Belize City, the Belize District, and the Coyote District earlier this week. The emergency declaration comes amid a wave of deadly shootings, including the recent killing of known street figure Brandon Baptist, an event that police say pushed the threat level in these areas from high to critical. When questioned about the need for the state of emergency earlier this week, Commissioner of Police Dr. Richard Rosado said there was a need for the state of emergency to be implemented for a period of 6 months in the first instance. While that period has not yet been determined, Compol Rosado says the discussions will be based on the situation on the ground in the affected areas.
I believe the file was forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecution Office, and from what I can recollect, it was no criminal offense was committed or were committed, and it was an internal issue that need to be addressed by the institution.
And while there are those who would be opposed to the incarceration of Belizean citizens for a prolonged period of time, Campo Rosado says the residents on the ground have been accepting of the SOE thus far.
Honestly, while I am lobbying for it to be for 6 months, it will allow us, and the main reason for that it was based on the threat assessment. And the assessment went from high to critical, and there was a need for us to do something drastically. Hence the reason I was lobbying. I was trying to see if we can put a 6 months in the first instance. But in any case, our strategies have always been on threefold: the prevention, the intervention, and the enforcement strategies. For the most part, the public has been supportive of the state of emergency, and they have applauded the police for the effort that we are doing on the grounds.
So what do you make of the Prime Minister? How many persons have been detained so far?
We have a total of 23 that went up on the state of emergency yesterday. Now, the state of emergency, please appreciate that the state of emergency is to allow the investigators to continue their investigation without interruption or hindrance from the gang elements.
But you have a 7-day timeline that you have to publish the names of the persons who are to be held.
We do, like I mentioned, we do have a time limit in which we are working on. And based on that, the interviews that we are doing, it's an extensive investigation that we are doing. And based on that, we will determine whether we will detain other individuals.
So
Over 20 persons have since been detained in connection with the SOE. These persons, according to the commissioner, are being questioned under what they have dubbed a gang intervention period.
It's the police department that has been lobbying for it to be referred to as a gang intervention period.
But sir, that is a bastardization.
We are in support of the gang intervention period.
But sir, that means that it's an illustration that all policing tactics have failed, and we now just have to use the most blunt and crude instrument of the state to just say, pick you up, lock you up, no judge, go.
Like I mentioned, we will do everything that is possible to return normalcy, peace, and stability to the streets in Belize City.
Even at the cost of the rights of persons.
I'm saying that we will do everything that is possible within the context of the law, within the context of the Constitution, to return normalcy to the streets of Belize City.
Sir,
we are law enforcers, and we will do everything that is possible, like I said, to return normalcy to the streets.
Were you disheartened that you're seeing so early in your career as commissioner?
I am not disturbed, I'm not perturbed, I'm not overwhelmed by what was happening. We will do what we need to do.
Commissioner of Police Dr. Richard Rosado today gave an update on the investigation surrounding the death of 6-year-old Gabriel Pablo Orellano. Gabriel touched the hearts of Belizeans across the country in February of this year after the 6-year-old autistic boy got out of the compound of his school and ran miles away to the sea where he tragically drowned. Following that tragic incident, an investigation was launched by the police department as well as the Ministry of Education and the school to determine if anyone was at fault or even negligent in this case. After considering the case carefully, Campo Rosado says it was determined that no one was criminally liable for Gabriel's death, and the matter was left to be handled by the institution as well as the pertinent ministry.
I believe the file was forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecution Office, and from what I can recollect, it was no criminal offense was committed or were committed, and it was an internal issue that needed to be addressed by the institution.
And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Monday, May 12th, here on CTV3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at CTV3BelieveNews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at Facebook.com/CTV3BelieveNews or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News BZ. From all of us here at CTV3 News, have a safe and pleasant weekend. Thank you for watching and listening. Good night.